Work we do and the decisions we make impact the lives of our riders who depend on our service every day. We thank our employees, riders, and the citizens of our community for their continued support. Let's work to maintain the highest standards of public service and to ensure that Coast is a source of pride and a vital resource for Horry and Georgetown counties. May our discussions be guided by a commitment to excellence, equity, and fiscal responsibility. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic
which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You gotta power through it with the round to go.
Yeah. Hey, we have a roll call. Mark?
I'm sorry, the bug man's here. Okay. Melissa Bilka. Catherine.
Planning for international trip.
Kitty D'Angelo.
Here,
Sarah Igo.
Here,
Lily Jean Johnson. Marvin King. Elijah Method.
Here,
Bernie Silverman.
Here.
Nicholas Twig.
Yeah.
Randall Wallace.
I think we have a quorum.
5, so we barely have a quorum.
Randall should be joining. I'll just
Okay,
call him.
we're okay now, though, and that'll be good if he does.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move. Second.
Okay, we have two quick changes to be, one change is a very short executive session, and we can put it right at the very end so we can adjourn afterwards. Okay, all in favor of the approval of the agenda, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries.
Bernie, what is the executive session?
Executive session is for
Personnel or?
personnel matter.
Okay.
Yeah, I take a motion to approve the minutes. You got the minutes by email. They're not on the OneDrive, or I couldn't find them. I don't think they're there, but you got them.
They're out there. We're just continuing to have issues with the OneDrive.
Okay, well, we got them by email in any case. So,
I found,
oh, you on OneDrive?
no, I found them on the
We're
other.
going to approve them.
Yeah, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I so
Discussion.
move.
Need a second.
I can second.
Okay,
Discussion.
moved in second. Any discussion?
I do. And I read them and then I read today's finance report. In the last minutes in the finance, the 6th line talks about ridership was up in the previous month. I didn't go back to look at it. When I come to this month, we talk about revenue continuing to be down because the continuing decline in ridership. But was July?
July was higher than the previous
that-
July.
I-
And then, but overall, we're down
Overall, the trend is
3 or
down.
4%.
Perfect, okay, that is my question, so. I would
Is that a
support-
is that a regular route?
No, I mean, that's overall ridership for the
Oh,
month in
overall,
July was higher than the previous month, previous July.
Okay.
But I mean, overall for the summer and for the year, we're down 3 or 4% total.
All right,
all around.
any other discussion on the approval of the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye,
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The acknowledgement of visitors. I think we have one visitor, Miss J. Rowe.
Ms. J. Rowe from the City of Georgetown Council.
Well, thank you for joining us. Do we have any public comment? Ms. J. Rowe, would you like to comment? I think
She's having trouble with her mic. Maybe we give her a minute and
The
Yeah,
sound,
we can
excuse me, your sound is going in and out.
who's this?
mine.
Mine.
All right, we're gonna, if we get Ms. J. Rowe back online, we'll give her a chance to comment when she comes back. Right before we start the committee reports, I want to talk just for a minute about the task conference that was the beginning of this month. And some of us were there, a lot of us were there, but Brian made us look very good. Brian did a great job. He was all over the place. He was, he didn't say he was the leader of it, but he was way up in the top echelons and did a great job. Melissa did, she was one of the presenters and also did a good job talking about van pools. And the highlight to me was the award ceremony where our own Daryl Eichhoff was named the past board member of the year. And congratulate. And we have a way to get a video of his presentation up here if we can. I'm gonna ask Candace to try. If not, we'll just have to have it another time, or I can tell you about it. I'll turn the light on for a minute.
How do you share the volume? I know you do.
It's up top. Go to the dots. See the dots up next to Clip Champ?
And that is a Clemson professor who was,
Yeah, that's Kat Moreland. She's,
Very impressive.
yeah, did a great job too.
do you see the, oh, you got it?
The board of directors of Coast RTA for over 10 years, with stints as chairman of the finance committee and as the overall board chair. He is the epitome of involved. He is active locally with his church, regionally with Coast RTA, and at a state level having served on the board of the South Carolina AARP. A retired U.S. Air Force colonel, he managed military hospitals around the world. He is very quick to say that transit finance is way more complicated than hospital finance. He has been extremely active in bringing attention to the need for more public transportation, whether he is attending the TASC legislative reception, accompanying Coast RTA staff to visit our legislative delegation in Washington, D.C., or riding on the Coast RTA bus. He has been instrumental in strengthening the relationship between TASC and the South Carolina AARP in fights to improve mobility for seniors, even driving them around as a volunteer for Neighbor to Neighbor. TASC would like to take this opportunity to thank Daryl Eichhoff for his service and to recognize his efforts.
Looks good.
Speech.
All right, thank you, Daryl. Thank you, Candace, for doing that.
Thank Brian for putting me in.
And Brian for nominating Daryl, and it was well-deserved, and I'm proud of Daryl. He did a great job. He's doing a great job. Finance committee reports. Service committee that did not meet. I'm trying to call it Public and Agency Coordination Committee from now on, but it did not meet. But do we have a report?
Not really. I think, as we'll talk about in the GM report, there's a few items that, Service PAC is kind of, managing, not the least of which is an onboard survey. And we're really, kind of pressed for time to try to get that completed, hopefully by the end of October. And so that's really what we'll be talking about in the next meeting, that, as well as, trying to get the community transit partners meetings off the schneid and get those rolling. So both of those things are extremely crucial for the transit development plan, any kind of fare structure changes that we're going to make, and just, tying up all the loose ends on the organizational plan. So,
And are you going to talk about like how and when we're going to get that done, like in the general manager report?
well, yeah, I mean, it's in the project listing, so we kind of talk about it through that.
Okay.
I wanted to look at one thing. Just going over the monthly report on ridership and stuff. I didn't see any glaring issues. That's normally what we would talk about in the service.
Right.
PAC committee. But I did see one thing on the O&M expense and probably to be covered under finance. It jumped up about 10% last between July and August, so it's been a while.
Yeah, there's a logical explanation for that, but we can talk about it in the finance report.
Okay, anything else for, let me read this right so I can learn it. Public and Agency Coordination Committee, AKA Service PAC, anything else? Okay, Finance Committee, and our finance chair is not here, so I didn't, you're not gonna get off without a report, because I did one. Because I thought Brian told me he wasn't gonna be here, and so I planned for him to be here. Okay, I'm gonna read some of this. The budget we passed last month, which begins in a couple days, October 1st. It was approved by, it's approved by Horry County and as part of our funding agreement. Brian took it to INR last month, or to admin last month.
No, I know.
INR last month. And at the last full council meeting, it passed on the consent agenda. On the income statement and notes, pages 2 to 4A, some of the things out of the budget dollar amounts that are out of the budget by dollar amount, not percent. Starting with revenues, the fares are down by $59,000. The reason, of course, is the ridership is down, and that's a problem we've seen off and on. In expenses, the over budget things are transit salaries, transit overtime due to driver shortages and maintenance and drivers on the entertainment shuttle. Facility maintenance is over budget due to ongoing building maintenance. That's something that we're going to see more and more of. And people who haven't seen Brian's email about extermination, that was an expense that's not on this list, but will be there next month.
Yep.
And office supplies is over budget due to IT expenses and IT overhaul, and professional and legal is over budget due to H&R and payroll.
So if I could just interject there, August was a 3 payroll month, which is why expenses look 10% higher. We had, we're paying basically a third more on pension, that stuff. And obviously we got a little bit lucky because we had 2 days off for the tropical storm in August. So it could have been a lot worse, and that would have been another about 40K in expense. Cost was about $20,000 a day to run the system.
A lot of people took PTO.
Yeah, I mean, we paid some vacation. We offered
Good.
that. So,
Better to spend it in the year.
to keep people whole. So you're right. That's a good thing. It lowers our liability on, paid leave.
Under budget items are fuel, and that's really just lucky for us and lucky for everybody, advertising and marketing. Vehicle maintenance is under budget, but will rise due to major overhaul work on the new flyers. So that's coming.
So we have
and it's
another,
really started already.
yeah, we had one in August.
Right.
And then we'll have another one in September. So that should finish about 20 or 30,000 over budget.
Right, and it doesn't show up in this financials. It will show.
Right, it'll be in the September financials for the end of the year. I mean, overall, we're gonna be in like the 270 range in overages for the year. And that's covered by additional revenue that we pulled in.
Okay, so that's good. Okay, the bottom of page 5 is really the summary of the income statement, and it shows us with a negative 3.1%. And that may be the number you just talked about that's covered by revenue. Okay?
Right.
The balance sheet shows about $22,000 in LGIP, a far cry from what we're required to have, the $400,000. We have about 5% of the 5% they want us to have. So that's something that we're going to have to watch. If the referendum passes, it's something we'll have to deal with. If it doesn't pass, it will cause service changes. So I don't say what, but at this point, we can just say service changes. We'll have to come up with that money somehow. They have given us until the end of our next fiscal year to do it. They've been generous with us. We have agreed to that, and we will be doing it. And
In my remarks to INR, I mentioned that it would be a challenge, but,
Yeah.
so they know we're trying, kept that transparency.
And we plan to do it. I mean, if we can't, and we'll tell them why we can't and what we
Right.
can do instead. But it's our goal to do that. And it's not only important to do it for their things, it's important for
For
us.
us to have it, absolutely.
The only thing in cash requirements I want to note is that at the end of this list, which I think goes to another couple of months after today, the CNB loan and interest will be paid.
Yep.
And so that's a good thing. Ridership is down. The 12-month total was 543,000, down from the 12-month total a year ago of 588,000. So that's a problem that we need to solve. I personally think that if we can ever get our whole system back on the schedule we had it on before, that will pick up a lot of that. That's all I have for Finance Committee. Is there anything else that anyone wants to add or subtract or know more about?
Well, I think the other conversation we had in Finance Committee was regarding the parcel acquisition. Letter of intent has been delivered to the owners. We've offered $4,425,000 for the parcel. That is the current appraised value. In the committee meeting, we talked a little bit about how the appraisal changed because we have two different owner entities. In there, there's 1.7 acres that is owned by a Withers Holdings. Even though it has the same address as Preston Holdings, who owns the other rest of it. So we're pretty sure it's the same person. But our attorney is kind of going by the letter of the law in terms of if they do force us to go to eminent domain, there will be two offers in the eminent domain, and in hopes that the court will combine them since it's the same individuals. But we got to leave that up to the court. So the letter of intent basically gives them until October 21st to accept the offer. If they accept the offer, then we'll obviously have to find a closing date and exchange funding and then take control of property. So if we go that path, we won't control the property until probably sometime in November. If we are forced to go to eminent domain, we will follow those court papers that following week after the 21st. And once those papers are filed, we control the property. And then even before the court decides on the final price. So that's how that process works. So we'll see, ball's in their court. Before we draw down the funding for it, I guess that's the other thing, all the funding is in place for that amount. FTA ties us to the appraisal amount plus fees. And so, they'll, if we go through the court process and there's some adjustments to the appraisal based on those court proceedings, then we do have about a 4.5% contingency in there. But because we're not leaving any remnants, because we've done this due diligence on two different owners, there's not a whole lot of wiggle room for them on adjusting the appraised value in court. So we'll see how that goes. Because there's one other thing I want to say.
Is the court tied to appraised value in some way?
Basically, the court proceedings are an agreement on an appraisal. So they'll have an independent appraisal, they'll bring their own appraisal to it, and then we'll have to just, we'll have to
Negotiate that. Yeah.
And so whatever that ends up being, I'll have to go through another appraisal review process. The state does that for us. And then once we deliver that to FTA for concurrence, and then I can pull the trigger on the funding. But we want to make sure that there's complete agreement across the board before we go through that process one more time. One last thing on sort of the complicating side of this transaction. As far as FTA is concerned, the fire station is separate. The fire, the property that the city is purchasing. So we may have to do an additional appraisal that takes that out and incorporates the price of our portion of the project. we'll see how all that goes. So, basically, we're working on two different appraisals, an appraisal for the entire parcel locally that's going through the court proceeding, and a appraisal for just the FTA portion, that FTA is basing their decisions on.
So do we know that they're gonna ask us for a separate appraisal on fire station piece?
Well, that's what our grant is based on, is a separate appraisal. We've done 3 appraisals so far.
Yeah,
So the first one was the whole piece. The second one was taking the fire station out. And then the third piece was putting the fire station back in, but then doing the separate one for
that little
this
piece.
other parcel that's up front. So, we just try to make it as complicated as possible.
For local match money, what we're getting from Myrtle Beach is not directly linked to that fire station parcel.
It is now.
Is it?
It is now.
Before you were gonna give it to them for $1.
Well, I mean, I think, and that's because FTA made us split it out, and thankfully, there's enough in that. So,
Okay.
the city has pledged $750,000 to this project. Right now, we only need about 712 for their parcel based on the appraisal. And so they're gonna continue, I mean, they're gonna give us the rest of it that we can use for local match.
We have enough local match, okay.
The only other thing I want to say is that I do expect to get a bill, once we close, in 125,000 realty fees, which is way low for 4 million. They really cut us a deal, over at Keystone, so I really appreciate that. And then we're on the hook for $10,000 to $50,000 in legal fees, depending on how the eminent domain process goes. But those are all eligible funds, eligible expenses under the FTA grant. And so that delta between what the Myrtle Beach is giving us versus what their parcel costs, they'll be paying a portion of those fees
Yeah,
out of that 750. And we can go a little higher if we have to. I've already talked to the city about that.
okay, well, in any case, it seems no matter what road we end up taking, we'll have the land at some point.
Yes, we should have it sometime by Thanksgiving. We should have it by Thanksgiving, I would say.
Okay, well, we can
We'll
sit
see.
out there and
I'm not
have a
betting
picnic.
much on anybody. But
Okay. The only other thing I have to add to finance is that I'm going to start, I think we need to schedule the entertainment shuttle review. It will be, it's almost completely in now in the August financials. It will be completely in by next time. And I think we need to decide what we can do to either decrease our expenses to it or increase our ridership or what we need to do on that one. So that'll be upcoming. Anything else for Finance Committee? Okay, Compensation Committee. I don't think we have anything for that. Other ad hoc committees, I don't think we have that. Old business. I have no old business. Anybody have old business? New business. New business, we have the vice chair vacancy, and I'm going to make some calls. So if you don't want me to call you this month, don't pick up or make me leave a message or something. But we do need a vice chair. I would like to have one, and I think we need one, and we're going to need a chair come next year about this time. So FTA visit, I'm going to hand that back to Brian.
Back to the vice chair though, whoever steps up to do that, historically, that's been a 2-year term, taking over when the chair leaves. But since you've been doing this out of cycle, the new vice chair in 1 year will become the chair.
Right.
Correct?
Right. The new vice chair will become the chair exactly in 1 year, October 1st.
Unless you decide to do a 3-year term.
Yeah, I might think about that. But I don't know. I'm not thinking about
That may complicate getting one of the newer people committed to taking over when they only got
Only 1 year. Yeah, yeah.
Just point that out.
Okay. We're gonna come back.
I'm just gonna keep going.
That's what I think.
No, I'm not gonna keep going. Well, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Let's talk about FTA visit.
Okay, so one of the things that came out of the task conference was that FTA staff attended the conference, and I saw Dr. Yvette Taylor, who is the regional administrator of FTA, and walked up to her, and I don't remember if I said hi or not. but I basically said, look, we need some funding for this building I'm trying to build. And during that conversation, I said, it would be great if your staff could come out and tour our facility. And, it takes about 11 minutes and 40 seconds to tour it. You'll see what we're dealing with. Hopefully that'll, lend some credence in next year's, application process for bus facilities and low-no grants. And so they agreed to come out that on Thursday afternoon after the conference was happening. In fact, Candace was going to bring them out here and show them around. And on Thursday morning, they came up to me and said, well, Dr. Taylor just is doing a site visit down in Bradenton, Florida for a similar project. And she's offered to do a site visit for your facility. And I said, so what does that mean? He said, well, we'll come out for 2 days and, talk about the project and, what your goals are and that sort of thing. They'll bring folks from the DC, from headquarters office. And then it's up to me to mobilize local resources, whether we're talking about our delegation to DC, to state officials, to local elected officials. And I said, absolutely. So I was really hoping to come today with a date because I think there's a number of things that we need to do in conjunction with that visit. I just heard from FTA this morning that they're still on board for doing either the first or second week of December.
Wow, good.
He mentioned that they have a little bit of a sticking point depending on what happens with the budget in Congress. He said if there's a continuing resolution, travel is a little bit difficult for them. And so he said we can schedule something, get it on the calendar, and try to go from there. I think from my perspective, the visit could happen anytime as long as it happens prior to when that application is due for 5339 Lono, which is probably March. And so we're still working through doing that scheduling. I'm hopeful for the second week of December because I think we can do it in conjunction with the board workshop. We're kind of in a holding pattern right now with, depending on what happens with Ride 4. And so as soon as we know the results of Ride 4, then it'll be time to meet to talk about either triage if Ride 4 doesn't happen, or, where do we go from here if Ride 4 does happen?
Back to the continuing resolution, I think the House, it got through there, I'm foggy, it was a 3-month extension, which is going over, it'd be middle of December. I can't remember what was it. It's going to Schumer and it's clean. They didn't add any funny other stuff. Other than.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not up to speed on that process. But I think they want like a full budget if they're gonna commit the travel expenses, which to me is kind of asinine because those doesn't cost that much to get out here.
I'd like to be the first 2 weeks of December then.
Yeah, there's not gonna be a full budget by then, even if they.
So then the other conversation that we had in regards to this was with the chamber. We talked to Jimmy Gray over there, who I'm hopeful to get some help with the local delegations, both senators, presumably to get at least one of them here for the visit. And he shared with us the congressional calendar. And he said, if they're in session, you're going to want to shoot for a Monday or a Friday in order for them to fly in, which I think is problematic. There's some weeks in early February where they're off. And that we have a better shot of getting them here in that time frame. So to be determined, I think it's mostly important to get FTA here. And we can get staffers from the Senate. And we'll see how we're doing on that front. But the chamber is on board. They're willing to give us a meeting space if we need it. I am very much in favor of hosting an event in our garage. I think that's really going to hit home.
Dig out the pit.
I'll dig the pit back out. So we do need to clean it up in there, and make it at least somewhat presentable. Not too presentable, but somewhat presentable. So that, we can kind of fire for effect.
And Dr. Taylor, who's the head of Region 4, she reports to the administrator of the FDA.
Speaking of Dr.
He's the FDA administrator.
No, I guess not. He's just, so that's her boss's boss.
Right.
Speaking of Dr. Taylor, she knows Brian well. You said you don't know how you greeted her, how she responded. Brian's always asking for money. It's a comment to the whole audience.
Yeah, well, that's my job, I guess.
But,
But,
he did great to get this even on their calendar so far.
so more to be determined. I think, it's a good segue into what the board meeting schedule looks like for the remainder of the calendar year. I think that we should do some sort of workshop that week of the visit in December. We should do it whether the visit happens or not. There's a lot to be discussed in that, we probably need like a half day. Everything from, obviously it'll be a very sobering conversation if RIDE 4 doesn't pass.
Yeah.
But we'll have a lot to talk about. If RIDE 4 does pass, then we'll have a lot of really good things to talk about.
Yeah.
Not the least of which is sort of bridging from our last road use fee check on July 15th from Horry County to sales tax check, which wouldn't happen until October 15th. We'll need to figure that out. One area of concern is the ability to bond on the sales tax. There was a conversation in Carolina Forest with Wayne Gray, who was the committee chair, the committee of 18 chair, who kind of pushed the council into this process. It was saying that there was no, originally when they were talking about putting the referendum out, there was going to be two questions, one for the tax and one for bonding capability. In the county, I had a conversation with the county attorney about it. He said that they were contemplating GO bonds, general obligation bonds. He said, but the state statute is pretty clear that that has a cap of a certain percentage, a fairly low percentage of your property tax revenues.
Oh, boy.
All right, so it has nothing to do with the sales tax. He said that these projects on that list are so big that it would be South Carolina DOT probably letting and constructing them, and that we would be this county would be using the state infrastructure bank to finance them. And so don't believe that they need bonding authority for the sales tax. And I asked point blank, it's like, what does that mean for us? Obviously, we're not really contemplating any bonds per se, which would be a long-term loan agreement. But we might need to borrow against it, obviously for cash, but also for a bus buy and some things out there that we might need to do in shorter terms. And he said there would be no issues with us borrowing against those funds. So I don't think we have a credit rating necessarily, but that's something that we'll need to try to put out there moving forward.
We're getting a sales tax check in July.
October.
No, a referendum tax in October. I mean, a vehicle tax in July.
Yes.
And a sales tax check in October. That's not really much longer than usual.
Well, we'd be missing $200,000 to $250,000 checks between. Yeah. So no, I mean, I'm hopeful we wouldn't have to borrow more than like 500,000 to bridge that gap.
Right.
It depends on what's going on with the grants. And it would be tied to the policy that you all passed last year.
Right, it'd be within that limit.
It would be in those limits. I'm concerned that if the budget process goes too long, then there's going to be difficult to get a new grant up and running. And so we need to look at that. And then we also need the state to agree to do next year's 5311 grant early.
I was trying to look at what was included in the continuing resolution. I know Republicans first wanted a 6-month extension. The Democrats, including the Department of Defense, puked over it. I really think that, I wish I could have found the headline. I think it's going to be a 3 month in mid-December, which will be past the first, second week.
Yeah,
The House says they put it mid-December so that, Christmas and everyone will pass it and take
Yeah.
off. They want to go home.
There's nothing too controversial. This last one's clean. The Republicans put some stuff on there that just muddied the water and it didn't go anywhere.
well, a 5/12 continuing resolution means about $1 million being released under 5307 as opposed to 3 million.
Hmm.
And so that, that's going to put limits on how much I could put into a grant until the whole thing gets passed. Thankfully, they're not doing a reauthorization this year. They've got one more year on that. And so next year's budget process will be even worse because they're doing a reauthorization of the bipartisan infrastructure law. So we'll see how all that goes.
So let's talk about, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, we need to schedule the October meetings. I think under normal circumstances, Marty, we do the last Wednesday for the board, which is the 30th of October.
Right.
And that would put the
Committee meetings.
committee meetings on the 23rd. Is that what you guys want to do, or we could push it up a week?
Why?
So, I don't know, was there any issues with the 30th, Marty?
Not that I've heard.
It's just a week 5 instead of a week 4 meeting.
It's always week 5. That's
Right.
we meet.
And it may make sense to push it back or keep it where, keep it on the 30th because the next board meeting won't be until the first part of December.
Right, and plus that would put committee meetings on the 16th, and yeah,
Which is tough to
Yeah,
get.
it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Okay, so on your agenda, it said next meeting is the 23rd, but really it's gonna be the
It should
30th.
be the 30th.
And committee meetings will be the 23rd. And then
And
there'll be no meeting in November,
On the 23rd. Yeah, I think I'll need I'll
committee meetings.
probably want to finance
Okay,
in November,
okay, that's.
if we can do that. And that could be the week before Thanksgiving, so. And I guess honestly, Nick, we could play the service pack by ear depending on what's happening with the onboard and, in November.
Mhm.
And so then the board meeting would probably be that second week of December,
Okay,
and it would include a half-day workshop.
okay. And we'll wait on that to see if FTA comes along and give us a date.
The House sent over a 12-week extension, so that goes to mid-December.
Yeah, that may push us out a little bit.
So November 20th for the finance committee meeting.
No, we're gonna be the
Or
20th.
December the 11th.
It's been a week before
for the board of
Thanksgiving.
directors.
Oh, it's still in November.
Artie, would you say that again?
November the 20th for finance
Okay,
and December 11th, give or take, for the board meeting.
Yeah,
Are we keeping it at 10 a.m.?
That's good for me. If anybody else has a better time, I'm easy. I'm
I
probably.
think it was good for Elijah for what he said earlier.
Yeah, I'm
Correct.
probably
Yeah,
pretty.
10 is good for me.
What about the committee meetings? Are we gonna start those at 9? Or are we gonna keep them at 10 and 11?
I'm an
Not-
early guy. I'm
Not
up
too
to-
early, please. Not too early, because I have a
All right,
1-hour drive.
how about 10 and 11?
10, 10, and 11. It is. Okay, and so then there won't be committee meetings in December. We'll just do the board meeting and the workshop.
Okay, if we need a meeting, we can schedule it then. We need to get.
I don't think we will,
Okay,
because chances are November board report won't be ready by the 11th.
Right.
So there will,
so we'll have a
we'll just
January,
do-
2 reports in
Yeah, we'll
January.
do 2 reports in January.
Okay,
So you're saying December 11th, the board meeting, correct?
That's a tentative date. I'm gonna try to figure out what's going on with FTA first before we set that.
Okay.
But we'll get it set here hopefully by the end of the week. One way or the other. And it would be nice if we do the workshop in person.
yeah. And really, we can do that on a Saturday.
Okay.
whatever day is good for people. Before general manager's report, is Miss J. Rose still on? I don't see the name. She's on.
She's still on. But she's muted.
All right, Miss J. Rose.
Roger, got any idea what she wanted to talk
Yes, I'm
about?
still
Oh, there-
on.
Oh, there you go. How you doing?
Takes me a minute. I'm good. How are y'all?
Doing pretty good.
If you have comments you want to make, this is a good time for us.
I'm good. I'm just sitting here taking notes. I feel a little out of the loop because I've been so absent, but I'm good right now. Thank you.
Well, our meeting in October is October 30th. You're welcome to come.
I'll do my
Oh,
best.
Good, okay, okay. General manager's report.
So let's just talk a little bit about Georgetown. I can't remember what we've talked about before, but Georgetown County also has a sales tax initiative this election. It's a capital projects tax. And in the project listing for that is included some money for a Coast RTA transit center in Georgetown somewhere. In relative proximity to where we stop now, which is by the Piggly Wiggly and Family Dollar on Lynch Street, I think it is. And so if that initiative passes, we have the resources in place for Kimley Horn to do a site evaluation and programming planning work for that project. So Ms. Jarrow will be coming your way depending on that election to sort of talk about how that process will go. And then after the first of the year, hopefully we'll have some results.
Yep. We'll see how that vote goes.
Yeah, we're rooting for you for sure. And that work is not on the project listing, but it should be on there for sure. And so then Bernie mentioned the task conference. I wanted to pass out, you guys have already seen this, but task, part of the work that we've been doing with task was updating the task strategic plan. See if I can pull this up for you guys.
I got two here.
And I won't go through this. I will put this in the board report, but the primary focus of this strategic plan this is our state transit association, on which I'm a board member. Has four goals: communicate, educate, motivate, and train. And it's really a program designed to pump up the volume, if you will, on the association's work and trying to generate educational materials, becoming the one-stop shop for public transportation around the state, what the issues are. We want to redouble our efforts on a legislative agenda. I have a meeting on Friday to start talking about that. I think we've had two fairly successful legislative receptions. We have another one planned in January in Columbia, where we're ready to start asking for some things. I think that will entail an increase in SMTF funding statewide, state mass transit funds. And getting the legislature to augment the revenue associated with that program, and then also a capital program. And so we'll be laying that out and getting that to them over the next couple of months. This association has always struggled with a singular voice because we've got so many different members who do different things. We've got human service transportation. We've got there's aging senior transportation. There's all sorts of human service type transportation folks that really have different needs than a traditional transit authority like Coast RTA has. And this is process that we had facilitated by this woman from Clemson, and we're really proud of it. So take a look at it, and I'll be keeping the board up to speed on what we're working on, and obviously you all are welcome to come to our legislative event in January. So I'll get you the dates for that.
Is the strategic planning person, is that the one we saw on the video here?
That was Kat Moreland, the lady that was on the video, was very central to getting this on paper. You know, we all worked really hard and kind of lay it out, but she was the one who was able to summarize it, and so, you know, we need to get bigger. We need, you know, we don't have a lot of money right now, so we're trying to get to a point where we can get, you know, we're establishing a 501(c) so that we can start really advocating for transit statewide in a bigger role. We've always been good at the training side, goal for, you know, helping our members with, you know, whatever type of training they need, whether it's driver training or, you know, doing, you know, draws for, you know, helping them, you know, to formulate draws or a cost allocation plan or those types of things. And we'll keep doing that as well.
Speaking of funding, the SCDOT, their turmoil is not helping, but this was one of the lower attended task conference because the source of funds in the past was a small poorer rural area. They couldn't come to the meeting because the state cut off the money.
Well, yeah, the Rural Transportation Assistance Program,
RTAP.
RTAP, is what a lot of our, you know, our fellow agencies use for scholarships to get to conferences, and that type of training.
SCDOT spoke, there's problems, money will flow again. He would not commit to, it left it so open-ended. I don't think it can be very soon.
We have, I'm glad you mentioned that because we do have a meeting with Justin on October 15th. So he's reaching out to talk to us. Hopefully there'll be some transparency there because as I told Jen Necker, we're all recipients. If you're having trouble as a recipient of FTA funds, we can help you. And trying to make it a supportive relationship than what it's been here lately. And it's been a little bit confrontational more than anything else.
So who's meeting with Justin Task?
Task board. Meeting with them. So, and they reached out to us, so I think that's a good sign. Yeah, it's a good sign. So the last thing on the board report is the project listing, which I handed out here. And I will put it on the board here to share. And this is definitely hot off the press, but I was thinking, it's like, man, we haven't looked at this in a while. Hopefully those of you online can see it. It's a little bit front loaded.
Yeah, I can see it.
It's a little bit front loaded. There's not as much in B and C as I would like. There's a lot in A, and it looks like it's overwhelming, but we do have support in process for a lot of these. And you know, maybe this is something, since it's pretty, I'll also put this into the board drive so that you guys can look at it at your leisure. I think really at the top of my list is the onboard survey, because we need it to finish off a lot of the stuff coming out of the organizational plan. The transit development plan, any changes that we're going to make to fare structure. I would say secondary to that would be a technology plan. And we actually have quite a few irons in the fire related to technology. First of all, our website development is in the process where it will replace the app. Okay, which is important overall because that'll save us $4,000 a month. The only real, I mean, I was amazed at how far this is. T2H has been working on the new website, and they're the ones that have put together essentially our connection to Google Transit. So we'd be replacing the app with Google Transit. And, you know, we're required by FTA to have at least an updated static link to Google Transit with that has all our routes, all our schedules, but it's static information. He's taken it a step further to make it dynamic information, meaning you'll be able to see buses on Google Transit in real time.
And I can't really read this thing too well, but is there a date for this website update?
What did I put in there? Where is it?
What number is it?
It's actually under B, 331.25. That probably can move up to A. The point being is that we have folks off, we have consultants helping us get through a lot of this stuff. Everything you see under the organizational plan, we've got Kimley Horn backing us up on that stuff. Facility development, we've got Kimley Horn backing us up on that as well. And so there's a lot that will need to happen between now and the end of the first quarter of next calendar year. In here.
On the websites?
Yeah,
I just had a comment. I've worked with a lot of small businesses that put their, it's an imperative you have a website, okay, so people know where you are. But one of the issues that I find just 100% of the time is they pay money and they get a website done and it looks pretty and you have little flames on the corner and all that, whatever the IT people think is cool, right? But the one thing is, once you get that, the company or the end user, in fact, it will be us, needs someone to look at that
To update
website at least once a week, if not twice a week,
yep,
okay, just to see where it is and to update it. I think we have stuff on our website that's 3-4 years old.
we're older.
Yeah.
But anyway, and that's something that gets lost in the shuffle. You spend all this time getting a consultant to make a website and gets all the inputs that we want to get into it. It's really great. But then they're done.
Yep.
So that's just something for us to be.
Point taken. You're exactly right. And we'll need to make sure we have that squared away. Someone have a question online? So, I don't know that I necessarily want to go through this line by line. Honestly, I think aside from getting the onboard survey, we will be meeting as a staff to start talking about technology, at least brainstorming all the different things that we want to incorporate in that so that we can take this sort of 2 steps back and find an integrated solution for, hey, how about stop enunciation, all that stuff that needs to happen. And so that we can kind of work towards that. Obviously, the improvements there will take money. It'll cost us capital money. But I'm hopeful that it will save us operational money.
Is that the reason we can't get a better date on fare structure analysis, estimated completion date,
Yes.
depending
Oh,
on
yeah,
the
I
other
didn't even
one?
update it. Yeah. Yeah, I put these in order. I probably need to work on the dates here a little bit. I was doing this in a rush this morning. Because I was just like, man, we need to figure out what's going on here. So I'll say between now and committee meetings, we'll get some realistic dates on this.
Okay.
And keep moving. Obviously, any comments you all have about priority, let me know. That.
Yeah, realistic dates on what?
Well, like technology assessment still has
On this page.
2023. I just want to get, I didn't update everything. I put them in the order that I thought they were of importance.
So do you have plans? I mean, you say you're gonna do an onboard survey in October, so October is next week.
I know. The reason why it didn't happen in September is we got promised surveyors that didn't materialize.
And we were right in the middle of that, of Debbie's.
Well, yeah, Debbie, that pushed it out. I guess it was supposed to happen in August. So it got pushed to September because of Debbie. And then we didn't have surveyors in August either. So it wouldn't have happened in August if there was no Debbie. We now have 3 different sources of surveyors. CCU's providing a few folks, Marvin Keen's temp agencies providing a few folks. We've got some people on staff that we'll send out there, and then we are getting one or two from AmeriCorp, which is the original source of the thing. So,
So do we have a date?
we do not have a date.
Do we have a survey already?
Survey is built. It's on tablets. Tablets are sitting in my office.
How many surveys do we need to complete to make some meaningful?
That depends on the route. We're doing that a little bit on the fly, just so that, depending on which trips get covered, we'll do a count. And then regardless of how many surveys you do, we'll have a percent error
Okay,
on that. But we'll focus that. We're taking full counts as we're doing the survey.
And
So that
Kimley
we
Horn
have
will
a good idea
analyze
of
the
the
survey.
sample size. I'm sorry?
Kimley Horn's job will be to analyze the survey.
Yeah, they are managing it,
Okay.
getting the surveyors where they need to put them and that sort of thing. And then they will be analyzing the data. And it's got socioeconomic data about the rider. It'll have how they're paying their fare. It'll have trip length, which will be important for us in NTD, because we will be reporting, passenger miles, with, the FY 24, NTD report.
And the tablets are Kimley Horn's tablets?
They're rented. I had this mysterious box show up on my table a couple weeks ago. Kind of looked like a bomb, to be honest with you. But it wasn't. It's tablets. So I'm not, those are still here, I guess,
who's paying for these surveyors?
it's a mix at this point. It's mostly us at this point.
Okay.
Or I guess Kimley Horn will pay.
Let me name a neighbor, they thought they had a
The
grant.
AmeriCorp ones are coming to us free of charge. So AmeriCorp's paying them.
Oh, good.
So there's, that was why we went with that, but.
Yeah.
So the cost of the survey is gonna go up a little bit. So instead of 20 to 25,000, it's probably gonna be closer to 35.
Well, we need to do them because we can't raise the fare to 150 until we get that.
It's really important that we get it. So
We're gonna get a TDP on.
and we need a TDP. The nice thing about a lot of these products, the TDP, the fare structure analysis, those are already written. They just need to be tweaked based on the data we're getting out of the onboard.
And what data, what did we ever do with the data? We got cell phone data with all the spaghetti lines going.
And we, that was central to some of the recommendations that came out of the original long-range plan that they,
The GSA.
remember, the biggest thing that came out of that is we need later evening service, because we got a lot of second shift type workers. That was the biggest thing. Now, obviously, in the current Ride 4 configuration, I don't know how far down that road we'll get, but, I think Vanpool will be critical to that because that can match up to whatever the shifts are for the employees. So, but that's the main reason why our midday is not as busy as it could be, because we're not going late enough at night. They can get to work, but then they can't get home on our service. So there's some things on here that, I think we're on the last list. I think if Ride 4 happens, we're gonna need to do an annual report. So we need to develop what that looks like, just so that we can advertise to voters, hey, this is what you paid for, type of thing. I think that'll be important. And then obviously that workshop in December will be critical either way in terms of
A lot of
where do we go from
uh,
here?
yeah.
Where do we go from here? Any questions? Still a work in progress. I think we'll keep this hot, on the front burner over the next few board meetings. That concludes the GM report.
For general manager, okay.
We talked about the December
Workshop.
We had December 11th, then the comments maybe we'll do it on, maybe do it on Saturday.
Let's see what happens with visit.
Okay.
And then we'll figure out when we're gonna do it.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, can we change the agenda a little bit and do bit of the order announcements and then executive session, then we can just adjourn. Is there anything for the good of the order? Are there any announcements? I have a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of executive session now, please say aye.
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 Motion carries. Okay, let's have executive session. Brian, you can stay with it.
Okay.
Who's ever manning the, or womaning the camera, will be just a minute or two.
So Miss J-Ro left. We got Randall.
Fran was on there.
Okay. Hey, Randall.
Gotta unmute. There you go.
Randall, you'll save me a phone call.